Welcome to Econundrums. I'm Sally.
And I'm Benny.
And we're here today to really highlight some of the crazy absurdities that's going on right now for job seekers across the country. And we're calling these absurdities or problems, challenges, conundrums in our present economy, or econundrums.
Econundrums, yes.
So we happen to be like thousands of job seekers across the country who are long-term unemployed job seekers. But we feel we bring a few things to the table.
That's right.
So we got a little entrepreneurial.
Mm-hmm. Just a little?
A lot. And we're really here to, in these difficult economic times, provide a bit of a lightness or even humor to some of these econundrums that are going on. And we'll give you a quick background as to how we made it to this show, how we created this thing.
That's right.
All right.
You want to start out by telling them that as well?
It's just such a great story.
It is. It really is, Sally.
So where were we?
We were at a job fair in line.
Those long lines. Anybody relate?
Yes.
And we were at that, just like you said, Benny, I will never forget meeting you in that long line at a job fair in Springfield, Massachusetts.
That's right.
I thought we'd never get in.
You know, and meeting you and just talking to you helped make that day go by. Because I've been to other job fairs and they're just horrendous.
Hey, listen, I got childcare that day, and as a single mom at 37, oops, I shouldn't say my age, but you know, I mean, I had to get the job done. I had to get a job at the job fair. I was not playing.
Exactly.
So, and you know, I'm introducing myself to you, and then all of a sudden we're introducing ourselves to other people, and then do you remember what happened?
That woman, you know, she came up and she says, "Did I hear salary and benefits? Because I'm here for that."
Right. She's like, "I'm looking for salary and benefits," and she's saying, and I don't remember like hearing too much about a job that actually has salary and benefits today. So I could have sworn you said salary and benefits. I got excited. Now I looked at you.
And I looked at you.
And I looked behind, and I said, oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. We were just introducing ourselves. My name is Sally, and this is my new friend here.
Benny.
But hey, salary and benefits, okay. And we exchanged a little look and a thought, and we said, there must be some reason that we met here today in this job fair line.
Yes.
Whether or not we get that job offer today, right, Benny?
Exactly. And then I started coming up with some ideas along with yourself, kind of tapped into my background and my training way back in high school in TV production, and here I am.
Yeah, you had that vocational background that you mentioned in line, and you said, yeah, we can maybe hook up with the local cable station and spotlight some of these conundrums in our present economy.
Absolutely. And here we are.
And here we are.
At the local community cable TV station.
Crazy.
Unbelievable. So
what
are we going to do?
So I think, first of all, it's so awesome that we decided to keep in touch. You know, that was about 6 months ago that we met there, and we've been meeting up
pretty regularly.
Almost every week. And we decided to kind of, all right, get a bigger picture on our job search, regroup, get creative.
Yes.
And,
I can't take credit for that part, but you can.
But what you can take credit for is to helping us launch this show, which is why we're here today. So without further ado, as you know, we've been talking about over the last several months, you know, these econundrums, they take place in this crazy new economy that we're all living in. Yes. So I don't know if we want to sort of mention a few of these trends that we see in the new economy.
Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, as you know, we've moved largely from a manufacturing-based economy to one that's more service-based and information-based, which tends to cut a lot of everyday people out. And I know, like yourself, if you want to say a little bit about what you did in your previous job.
Well, I come from a manufacturing background. Right out of high school, I went straight into work, and I've been a machinist for, I don't know, 30-something years.
Wow, you age well, Benny.
You know I look good, Sally.
Getting hot in here.
I've had 2 jobs in that time.
In 30 years?
In 30 years.
Wow.
And I actually seen buddies and other people get laid off, and I actually did some of their work too.
You mean when they got laid off,
they
kept you around?
They kept me around, and then I finally got part of the boom as well, and here I am.
Wow.
And I've been out of work for over a year.
But that's incredible. I mean, if you've had the 2 jobs, and you were obviously a loyal, productive employee for all that time.
Yes.
You don't see that too often anymore. That's one of the big differences, I think, in today's new economy. It's a dynamic economy. It's a global economy.
That's right.
So there's so many things that are happening outside.
Talk about you. And
I know.
I mean, when I heard your story.
I know. It's just incredible. You know, you think you do all the right things. I've been out of work, as you know. I mean, it's just incredible to think it's been over a year and a half. And I'm getting desperate. My unemployment benefits are about to run out. You know, I mean, maybe this is too much information, but I'm going to put it out there because I know people can relate out there in the country, is, you know, with all the stress associated with both myself and my husband being unemployed. We're actually separated now from the stress of the unemployment, and we've had issues with our younger son, and it's just stressful out there. You know, another thing that's going on, I mean, talk about from manufacturing, you know, the merging, the outsourcing, the automation.
Just like what's happening today. I mean, the jobs are going over to China, and, you know, uniforms are being made over in China instead of in America.
You know, and given your background with machining in a manufacturing context, you were an incredible employee. You were around. They kept you there. But when you didn't have that computer skill set, they had to lay you off.
Yeah, that is true.
Because all these machines are being automated today. So you need that computer baseline.
So I bet you our viewers out there are anxious to hear about these Econundrums.
I'm so excited.
Yes.
But it doesn't take much, you know. But I can say, as a long-term unemployed job seeker, and I'm sure people across the country can relate, it takes something to stay positive, to stay motivated. So these Econundrums are intended to bring a little bit of a sort of a humor and a bigger perspective.
Yeah, a little light. We had fun.
So let's get right to it.
Let's do it.
Let's get right to it.
Let's do it.
All right. I don't know about you, but sometimes I wonder where the humans have gone in today's job market. So there's like this impersonal reality to the job search today.
You mean like the need to demonstrate my people skills and multitask ability via an online application?
Yeah. So, like, think about that job fair that we were at. You know, the most people time we had was probably in line.
That's right. You know
what I
and like
mean?
you said, where have all the humans gone?
So, pardon me, I'm getting all worked up, you know, but, you know, you look at everybody's pretty much subject to the online application, and yet, just like you stated, how are you supposed to demonstrate your people skills, your multitasking ability?
If they asking me to go online to do it.
Exactly. So, I mean, that seems like quite the conundrum in our economy today.
Absolutely.
I think that's it's an important one to start off with. Let's get right to the next Econundrum, which we are calling dog chasing tail. So it's like
chasing tail.
a dog chasing its tail in a circle in today's job market.
You mean like I need experience to get the job, and I need a job to get experience. You know, even if I do get the experience and the credentials, you know, things change so rapidly and so fast, I become obsolete in no time.
No kidding. I so can relate to that, as you know. I mean, I got my fancy college degree back in the day. I got 12 years of, you know, a mix of customer service and office management, and I didn't have that high-level computer skill either, and specifically that social media component today.
Yes, that's important.
And it's changing so quickly, like you just said. So I can go out and get that training, but, you know, in a month, by the time or in some cases 6 months, I get the training, get the funds.
You get the certification.
And they want something else. So how do we even keep up?
Who moved my office?
All right. We've talked a little bit about this concept called the long-term unemployed, which a lot of folks would define that as anything over 6 months of being unemployed. You've been out of work, I think you said...
Over a year.
Just over a year.
Yes.
I've been over a year and a half.
Wow.
I'm stressing.
Yeah.
And there's a real paradox, or again, an econundrum, with us long-term unemployed. Have you noticed this? It's like they don't even want us anymore.
That's right. You mean like the longer I'm unemployed, the more I become unemployed? Or
yeah.
Something like that.
Like the less employable,
right.
They see you, and what's the other part, internally?
I become less confident.
Right.
I don't feel good about myself.
You know, and you and I both know, obviously, you know, we need the technical baseline, you need that ability to do the job, but at the end of the day, what I see is that employers are going to hire you based on your ability to communicate, your ability to be confident, because how you're being in that interaction or in that interview is how you're going to show up for their customers.
And believe it or not, they actually prefer to hire people who are already working.
I know. So tell me how all these long-term unemployed people around the country are feeling when you hear absurdities like, you know what, we'd rather hire people who are already working. How does that help me? How does that help my family get back on our feet?
I can't get with it.
I mean, your wife must be going mad as well. I mean, not to get personal on you, but it's all personal.
Oh yeah. Don't even go there right now.
Yeah,
Don't even go there.
I won't. I mean, it's just, what do we do with that? If they won't hire us because we're unemployed, but we need the job to support the family, it just seems like it's a real tough conundrum there.
Yeah, which leads us to the next one.
Okay. All right, if you insist. So, ironically, I mean, you got 30 years of industry experience.
Sally.
I've got, as I mentioned, the degree plus, fewer years actually in industry, but high level. I got to the point of actually managing multiple offices, and arguably, some might consider me to be overqualified, or
the OQ. That is the code.
Conundrum. So tell me what you know. What do you know about the OQ?
You mean like I'm overqualified, and the employer could hire like 3 or 4 college grads.
Exactly.
Without benefits, mind you, for the same amount that I'm asking just to earn a living for my family.
Right.
That's unbelievable. And if they hire and train me,
yep,
they think that I'm going to leave.
Exactly.
And bolt out the door the minute something better comes along.
Right. So you're saying even if you're willing to accept a perhaps lesser job or at least lesser pay, that even if they take you on, they're thinking, oh, that's a risk to me as an employer because you might just leave, like you said.
Right, exactly. And that's the perpetual job-seeking, job-searching mentalities these days.
Right.
It really is.
Right. It's like a perpetual job search, like
Absolutely.
you said. That's scary.
It is.
But
it is.
I guess we got to keep laughing. Speaking of which, so there is this whole series of sort of reverse incentives that I find in today's economy. It's almost like, at least in the short term, financially, you're better off just chilling on your couch, not making moves, not taking a risk.
Feet up with
what do
the
you
remote,
know about
no
this
incentive.
Reverse incentives. What's up?
If I jeopardize my unemployment and by taking a less, secure job,
right,
or God forbid I launch a small business.
Which you've been talking
there's
about
no incentive
for
that.
a while. I mean, I know that's in your gut.
It is.
So you're saying if you do that, what happens?
I lose my benefits.
Right, Benny.
I lose my, and then what would what would I do for most jobs? What can I make?
Right, exactly. Especially because you had been climbing the ladder, so to speak,
Absolutely.
and you've been making a certain amount. So you want to at least come close because you've built up your lifestyle supported by that income.
That's right.
So now, and here's what blows me away. This has happened to me a few times. I'm willing to take that lower salary, but if I really look at it in the short term, at least in my first 6 months of unemployment last year, I'm thinking, you know what? It's not worth it to actually take that significant pay cut when right now, because I was making decent money in my last job, my unemployment benefits are actually calculated based on that decent income. So I'm making more money short term on unemployment benefits while I still have it than I would if I took most jobs out there today.
Right, exactly.
Are you seeing that in manufacturing?
Absolutely, and I, don't tell anybody, but I've actually been doing some lawns on the side, try to bring in a little extra cash here and there. I got to do what I got to do.
You got to do what you got to do. And we want everybody wants to get back on our feet. Maybe some don't, but I know you and I do. We wouldn't have launched this entrepreneurial show if that weren't the case.
That is it.
So I hear you.
I'm ready to get back.
Me too.
I want to use these hands.
You want to use those hands again? Awesome. Well, how can we not talk about the age conundrum?
Oh, don't go there.
Well,
don't go there.
Listen, we got to.
You mean the age thing where employers want to hire experienced, reliable people, workers who are under 50 or under 35?
Under 35, for God's sakes.
What about that?
I mean, so you tell me how you can bank all this experience and you can be a multitasker, and you can manage people, and you're great with people, internal, external. You're reliable. You got wisdom under your belt. And oh, by the way, you'd be under 35 and we'll hire you.
Exactly. There's only a few people I know can do that. One is a guy I know named Jay. He's awesome. But other than that,
so I mean, we gotta help people really focus on the assets, like what the wisdom that they do bring to the table, and have that employer focus on what they can bring as opposed to what they don't have.
that's right.
So that's one thing I've been thinking through a little bit. You know, nobody's getting any younger.
No, I feel good about myself.
Me
though.
too.
Yeah,
Me
I feel
too.
good.
That's part of the successful job search too, is to keep yourself being well and fit and positive, you know,
Right.
and connected. Because if you
Yeah.
sink away into your own hole, you know, you're clicking, praying, and
that's
cursing
why
behind
those-
your computer.
That's right. Well, that's the other good reason for those job fairs is that you
Right.
get to network with other folks.
We wouldn't have met.
That's right. We wouldn't have met, and we wouldn't connect with other people in situations like ourselves.
Exactly.
And these people across the country, which I know you can relate.
Yep. And we'll just put out a little foreshadowing invitation. I want viewers across the country to be thinking about what are some particular conundrums that you faced that we might hear from down the road. I
That's
would love
right.
that.
Oh,
Just wanted to plant
yeah.
that seed.
Okay.
So shall we move on? We're on Econundrum number 7. 7
Okay.
of 10. So I'm finding the need to be both a generalist and a specialist.
Whoa.
Get the job.
Whoa.
How do you be
okay.
both?
How
What
do
do you
you
know
be
about
both?
that?
You mean like be a jack of all trades and a master of all? I don't know. Seems like unrealistic expectations.
It's like Superman. They're looking for Superman. Now I know your son knows you're Superman,
Yes.
but in the job market, how do you do? How do you do it all?
I don't know, but I know in my last job, I was doing all kinds of things. I was doing other people's work.
Right.
And it feels like the employers today want you to do like 20 different, one person to do 20
Yeah.
different jobs.
Exactly, and stay sane, and sleep.
Right. And to keep your morale up.
I don't know
It
how
just-
that's sustainable, honestly, long term. But I'm not here to complain. We're here to present
That's right.
some conundrums and speculate and hear back from some folks around the country as to how we can move through some of these challenges, for sure.
Yes.
I think a lot of this is leading up to the reality in today's economy, unfortunately, that there's very little, if any, mutual loyalty.
That's right.
Have you noticed this?
Oh yeah, there's no commitment on either. I'll put myself
I know.
in there, and the employer. There's no long-term commitments. Like,
Right,
well,
right.
you know, the let's try it before you buy it kind
Oh,
of mentality, and the code is, we'll see if you're a fit.
Yes, I've heard that a lot. If you're lucky enough to get that interview, and if you're lucky enough to get any kind of human feedback, they might say something like, you know what, we didn't think you were a good cultural fit, a good match for the job. What does that really mean?
Right. Well, they want to try you out before they buy it and before they offer you any benefits.
Right. And here's the deal. Nobody here, ourselves or anybody out there, is a victim around any of this. So we need to start shifting how we think as entrepreneurial-minded job seekers, thinking and understanding like how the employers think and
Yes.
understand their world. So that's sort of, we're going to begin to kind of shift this conundrum conversation a little bit right now. We can understand it is a performance-based world.
Absolutely.
If that company
Yeah.
can't make a profit, nobody's got a job.
That's right.
So that's something that I want the viewers to begin to consider, especially as a long-term job seeker that, you know, maybe you have lost motivation or hope or confidence, but we've got to start thinking like businesses think, especially knowing that you hear it in the news and the headlines everywhere. Who's going to be hiring is small businesses. And people define small businesses in different ways, as you know, Benny. But they're people like you and me.
They are.
Right?
They are. That's right.
So I'm gonna the last couple conundrums we're gonna talk about are more from the employer's point of view. Okay?
Great.
Small, mid, large companies, it doesn't matter.
I got to tell you, I never, until talking with you,
Yep.
Sally, thought from an employer's perspective.
Really?
Why
yeah,
would
but
I?
I mean, you've been an amazing employee
Why
all
would I?
these years.
I've
Well,
been
yeah.
30 years. I'm a master
Yep.
at what I do.
Yep.
And I couldn't even begin to think
Right.
like an employer. So,
Cool.
thank you.
How do you think that shift in perspective as a job seeker might empower other people in our position around the country?
Well, you empower. First of all, you feel empowered.
Yep.
And you take your situation, your unique situation, because we're all in this together, but we also come from our own unique backgrounds.
Right.
You take responsibility and you go out and you make something happen, just like an
Exactly.
employer will.
Kind of like we're doing.
Kind of like what we're doing, exactly. You take the bull by the horns
Right.
and you go out there and you
Right.
make it happen.
Exactly.
And you present yourself in that way,
Yep.
like an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
I'm an entrepreneur now.
Awesome. And wouldn't you agree, when you self-declared entrepreneur out there in the world, you're not just another job seeker.
Absolutely
You're not at
not.
the effect of all of these conundrums and other issues going on. You're actually, like you said,
I set myself apart.
I think you said, got the reins
That's right.
of your job search and of your life.
That's right. I take the bull by the
Yep.
horn.
And there's one thing that I actually learned about this concept. It's called intrapreneurship. So most people who are job searching, you're unemployed, you're underemployed, most people aren't seeing themselves realistically as somebody who's going to honestly start their own business and support themselves. But in the interim, especially if you're a long-term job seeker, I want people out in the world to consider, maybe you could present yourself as an intrapreneur. So you're bringing entrepreneurial mindset and tendencies into an organization. For-profit, non-profit, government agency, doesn't matter.
How much?
Isn't that amazing?
How much better will you be presenting yourself when you do finally get
And then
into
it's like
that
a
interview?
mutual interview.
Absolutely.
You're seeing if it's
I
a good
love it,
match
Sally.
for you,
Yes.
right?
So, let's
All
go.
right. So this idea of a surprising shortage from the perspective of the employer, that actually they're having a real hard time actually finding qualified, I'm talking technicians, engineers,
How many times have we-
salespeople.
Even though there are so many unemployed people,
Exactly.
I don't know. I think you said some statistics, some crazy statistic on, the unemployed across
Oh,
the nation
yeah.
or whatever. But, it's unbelievable that these businesses, these corporations,
Right.
still can't find experienced people.
Exactly.
These technicians, engineers,
Right.
salespeople.
Right.
I mean, what's up with that?
Even
Sally?
in Massachusetts alone, I mean, you've got over, about
Couple hundred
over
thousand?
200,000 people who are unemployed, and there's approximately 100,000 job openings. Those are only the ones that are posted and we're aware of.
Exactly.
You
Well,
can tell I've been doing a lot of research.
You have, and I think I think I heard you say it before. A corporation or a business would rather not hire
That's
than to
right.
hire the wrong person.
Exactly, to reduce or eliminate their liability. Because it's hard. You bring somebody on board, especially as a typical W-2 employee, which, by the way, is not how a lot of companies are hiring initially. Gets back to that try it before you buy it, 1099, short-term contract. But you're right. They'd rather just say, you know what? We'd rather keep it open than hire the wrong person.
Okay.
So in conclusion here, we got one more conundrum, at least for today. I'm sure we'll
Yes.
have more, especially once we hear from our viewers. But the last thing I want to say is, at least coming from a household where I grew up, you thought about salespeople as basically the devil incarnate. Like you'd never, ever, ever.
Shut the door on them.
Yeah.
Remember those vacuum cells?
Phone calls, in person. So, in other words, seems to be an interesting sort of overlooked conundrum here that I'm calling no sales, no jobs.
No sales, no jobs.
So, with nobody's on the front end pushing that product or service, who do we think is going to be creating jobs? With
Right.
what money?
Well, from that employer's perspective, I have to say, if no one wants to sell,
Exactly.
how am I,
As an employer?
as an employer,
Yep.
going to be able to meet my payroll demands or even expand and hire
Exactly.
new people? How can I do that if nobody wants to sell?
Right. And generate that increased profit.
That's right.
And profit is not an evil word as I've learned over the years. It's actually, it's could be very much equivalent to opportunity. So how can we come together and be creative like you and I have done? I mean, we're both long-term job seekers like so many people across the country, but with your background, I didn't even know you did this sort of TV thing. You had that skill set.
That's right.
I certainly
mean,
like to talk, so
so
I brought
long
that.
ago, but these guys here made it, fairly easy for me to home back in
Right.
on those skills from
But you had to make a
30-something
pitch,
years ago.
right?
I did.
You had to work your network.
Yes.
You had to leverage partnerships. So even if you're out there and you're thinking, I'm not interested in being in business for myself, in the interim, if you can be out there, be creative, and be that entrepreneur that is interesting to be around, people are curious, they want more of you, not less of you, I think people who are especially in a long-term unemployed situation are going to be a lot better off. What do you think?
I totally agree with you, Sally. I totally agree with that. So, how do we wrap this up for our folks out there and give them something to, because this can be a little daunting and a little depressing, and it can be a little bit, it can be a lot of stress associated with some of these econundrums. But we don't want to leave our people like that because we can relate to you.
That's right.
So
That's right.
what are we going to do?
Well, I think that's a great transition for sure. There are many different solutions, new approaches to speculate on, to consider. So, maybe what the viewers might think about is, this show will be recorded and you can back up and review the different econundrums that we've stated here today. Maybe pick out 2 or 3 that are particularly relevant to your situation, and sort of work with somebody that like and respect. Get together, have a little fun, glass of lemonade, have some peanuts. Sometimes we all feel like a nut. Have a snack, chill out. Not chill out too long, but if you can get together and troubleshoot as to what you think you might do differently to move through some of these conundrums that you're facing. Now, fortunately, not everyone's facing every one of the econundrums that we've stated.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. So that's the good news. And I think it is important to keep it in context of this new economy. Things have changed drastically. It leaves the everyday job seeker, everyday person who's actually got some decent qualifications, who's got a good heart, who's got a good work ethic, who wants to get back to work. And at least we've pointed out some trends that are larger than the individual, so people hopefully won't take their situation as personally.
Right. And think about some lightheartedness associated with it.
Exactly.
You can find some humor in anything.
A little humor.
Absolutely.
It goes a long way, and that can actually help to connect humans in between sort of differences of perspectives and experiences. We're certainly heading into an interesting time.
You mean this political season?
We can't avoid the fact that everything you look at.
Yes.
Job creation, jobs.
The economy.
Right. That's all we hear. So we are marching full speed ahead into the November 2012 elections.
That's right.
And this is not a political statement, but it's to look at what are some models that actually work,
yes.
right? That we can actually have people trained in these models and move through their tough times.
I like it, Sally.
So, and I think, another thing just to kind of wrap up is, may sound a little cheesy, but, we're not alone as long-term sort of even disengaged job seekers. There's actually, thousands of people that are out there in a similar situation. So how can we come together and support one another through this and other vehicles?
That's right.
To actually, maybe we do some kind of blog, maybe we do kind of response to these clips.
Absolutely. And we'll give the folks information on that blog. It'll be on your screen. And also, if you want to send in your own, as Sally said earlier, econundrum, maybe we can say that and do your econundrum on one of our future shows.
Just keep compiling those econundrums, build that sense of hope and unity, and who knows, we may be on Saturday Night Live before the November 2012 elections.
That's right.
I'm game.
Yeah. And who are you again?
I'm Sally.
And I'm Benny.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll be in touch very soon.